Hello my fellow miner, today we will be testing the RTX 3070 Ti in LolMiner, GMiner, TREX and NBMiner. It's a bit exciting because this is a completely new card for me. But first, let's go to the unboxing. The graphic card came in a box. I took the card out of the box, and now with the unboxing done, we can move on to important matters. For those with keen eyes like ninjas may have noticed that there was a screw right next to the graphic card, and that is because what I actually bought was a Zotac Gaming App Hollow Black DIY edition. So apparently we are meant to assemble this graphic card ourselves. Me not caring that much for DIYs, I plugged the card in and set it up to run for 24 hours. When I got back home from work, everything was crashed and I saw a black piece of thermal padding underneath my card. So apparently there's a screw loose and it drops thermal padding. So I had to open up the card, replace some thermal padding. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough to replace everything, but I did replace the one that fell out. And then I also removed the stupid LED bar, and it turns out that that was actually where the screw was. Here's a nice picture of the screw hole that the screw was supposed to be in, but since it's broken off and they didn't actually send the plastic with me, so I guess they owe me a piece of plastic. Then yeah, I just figured that there wasn't any reason to put it on, and it actually turns out that the graphic card as a result is 4 to 5 degrees lower. Enough of the poor build quality, let's get into it with the first test. First up is LolMiner version 1.34. I locked the core clock to 930, set the core clock to plus 100 to change the voltage. Set the memory clock to 1150, which is the very maximum I can do on this card. Well, the maximum when mining ethereum. Ergo it's 1450. Looking at the average power consumption, it's at 181 watts. The current is jumping a bit. It looks like 15-20 watts, which is what you usually see with unlocks. The memory is not the coolest in the world, but it's okay right now. Usually when it hits 88, it spells bad news and it will do a hiccup. Hiccup as in throttling. Anyway, let's have a look at the average result. 55.7 MHz per second at 182 watts, which gives an efficiency of 0.306. That is not bad for a DIY card. I would though hope that I could have clocked the memory higher than this, but they simply get too hot. Changing thermal pads may actually change that, and I think I'll order some very soon. Now let's move on to GMiner version 2.70, which is 28 or 29 days old at the time of recording, and they haven't come out with a new version. I locked the core clock at 930, set the core clock to plus 100, the memory clock to 1150. Running NVIDIA SMI commands actually requires admin privileges, so run your batch as admin if you're using them. You can also use curved if you want. What you saw there is a demonstration of stupidity where I put LHR to 4, then it bumps it to 5, then it gets locked and bumps it down to 4. Then what is the point of me putting it to 4 if I didn't want it to 4? Anyway, overall this is a very nice card. Poor build quality, but lovely, especially if you love DIYs. My wife loves this card. Let's have a look at the average result. 54.1 MHz per second at 102 watts, which gives an efficiency of 0.356. You may be asking yourself why I included that and why I didn't re-record it where it didn't bump itself up to 5 and then down to 4 again. It's because the average is still the same no matter what, as I simply skipped over the period where it bumped itself up and down again. Let's quickly move on to TREX version 0.24.5 before you get really bored of my perfect British accent. I locked the core clock to 930, put the core clock to plus 100, memory clock to 1150. Again, you can use curved if you want. I prefer to do it this way, especially since I have so many different cards and miners. So to me it's much easier just to use the same form of locking throughout. A quick look at the average power consumption is at 188 watts, while the current is jumping, looks like what, 9-10 watts, which is a I would say quite acceptable. Actually it looks very good. Now let's have a look at the average result. The average is 57.9 MHz per second, 185 watts with an efficiency of 0.313. I apologize if I sound a bit tired, but I've been out trick-or-treating with my son dressed up as Spider-Man, as was he. The difference is his suit was fitting well and mine was for a kid. So it was a bit tight and a bit hard to walk around with. But I definitely looked buffed. It was very nice actually, the reactions from people. I felt like a superhero. Anyway, let's move on to NBMiner, and in NBMiner I will be testing mode 2 here. Because I have another video where I have tested mode 1. I locked the core clock to 930, set the core clock to +100 and memory clock to 1150. Here we are testing mode 2, which is the power efficient mode with an LHR of 71.5. Looking at the average power, it's at 156, which is quite low. And the hash rate is at 56.5, which is a bit high, I guess, for that low of a power consumption. However, looking at the current power consumption, you'll see that it is jumping like a crazy. I would definitely not use it in mode 2, not with a jump like this. Now let's have a look at the average result. 56.2 MHz per second at 155 watts with an efficiency of 0.363. That is actually quite good if you think about the efficiency, but it comes at the cost of crazy jumps in watts, which I'm not entirely sure is healthy for your graphic card in the long run. As I said, I also tested mode 1. I'll link at top and in the comments and description so you can check out that video. It's a full test of NBMiner 39.7 with the RTX 3060, RTX 3060 Ti, RTX 3070, RTX 3070 Ti, mode 1, RTX 3080 Ti. But just in case you're not interested in that, then let's have a look at mode 1 here. 58.1 MHz per second at 181 watts with an efficiency of 0.321. That is both faster and more efficient than TREX. That includes my testing this time around. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. See you in the next one, which will most likely be adding flowers to my DIY 3070 Ti Extreme.